Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Sanch, your host here on the Bodybuilding News Network. Welcome back to another installment on the Contender Series, carrying on or continuing on with the 2023 Masters Olympia. In the 212 division, we're going to be recapping, get my chair set, we're going to be recapping Hidetada Yamagishi's victory in the Masters 212, and we're also going to be comparing it to the last time he competed before his retirement from the open bodybuilding stage for 212 at the 2020 Mr. Olympia 212. So it hasn't been very long since he's competed, and that's something I actually forgot myself. Was I didn't realize it's been only a few years since he retired. I did have the privilege of meeting him at this most recent Mr. Olympia in Las Vegas, where him and his wife train and own the powerhouse gym out there. So it was one of those meeting your role models, meeting legends type moment. Hide was one of those guys, first people I ever saw getting into bodybuilding, seeing online, doing the Generation Iron video movie thing. So that was amazing to meet him, and we're going to go ahead and go through these side-by-sides from this year's Masters Olympia where he won versus the 2020 Mr. Olympia 212 where he placed 14th, I believe it was. Of course, correct me down below if I was off there. Now, when we look side by side, I was actually quite surprised on how similar the physique was. Although he took 3 years off from competing, I don't believe he took 3 years off from training. Same could be said about supplementation, the super supplements, things of that nature. I don't know if he took a huge break from that sort of thing. It doesn't seem evident that he took, if that he lost anything. Looking at this front double bicep, I thought it was quite impressive. Between the biceps, the chest, the abs, the lat insertions, everything looks very similar. I can't really point out any major differences. Whereas sometimes you look at other physiques and you can kind of point out, oh, okay, this is missing, that's missing, not as sharp, not as hard, not as full. But he looks very balanced, very similar. Even in this front lat spread, again, very similar. I thought it was, quite impressive for him to come into this show, and we can dig more into the results, the top 3 from the Masters 212. If that's something you're interested in, please let me know down below. I am building the content schedule for the week, all these side-by-side comparisons and bodybuilding daily updates. So if you are interested in anything, you want to see something specific, definitely let me know in the comment sections below. And I'm just super impressed with this guy. I thought he did a phenomenal job. The peak was perfect. And you got to remember, these guys are flying all the way over to Romania. Hidetada, or Hide-san, is living out of Las Vegas. So he's got to fly all the way across the country, all the way across the world, once he hits Atlanta or whatever. It's got to be brutal on the conditioning and the water log. If you ever had to travel for a competition, I'm sure you're familiar with how the body retains that water. Just finishing that side tricep shot as we move into the transitionary footage. Again, very similar. Definitely an apples and oranges comparison here. And I think that really speaks for his longevity in the sport. I mean, the conditioning, the physique, it's almost identical. I'm absolutely blown away on how similar these shots are. Midsection looks just as tight, almost tighter. At the Masters, I think he was contracting the abs just a little bit harder. The midsection looks just a tad bit tighter, but the pecs are identical. Delts and triceps perfectly aligned. The traps, the calves. Even the calves are identical. So, when you look at these comparisons, again, it just really speaks to the longevity of this guy's career and how amazing and how impressive he's been all these years. You remember, he was one of those guys, like I said, in the Generation Iron movie. I think it was the original one or the second one, Generation Iron. I think it was the first Generation Iron. He was one of the focal points for that whole movie. So that has to speak to his competitiveness, his ability to compete with those guys. His competitiveness against some of the top guys. You had Jay Cutler, you had Phil Heath in that conversation. I think you even had Kai Green in that conversation. So I love the guy. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to be doing. This was a comeback for him, so whether or not he's going to continue to compete Masters or not is yet to be seen. I wouldn't be surprised if he does the Masters Olympia again when it returns next year. Hopefully it does. And last but certainly not least, the back lat spread. I'd say this is the only shot that doesn't look as improved or as impressive. The lower back, skin folding, the conditioning, the water log, all that kind of looks a little bit more present in the Masters version versus his 2020 version. But ladies and gentlemen, we're picking apples and oranges here. I was absolutely blown away with Hidetada Yamagishi here, winning the 2023 Masters 212 Olympia title. Looking forward to seeing what he's going to do in the future, but let me know your thoughts down below and what content you'd like to see next here on the Bodybuilding News Network. I'm your host, as always, Josh Sanch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another one.